Ollie, but at the same time, there's nothing like a good crime novel to make the hairs on your neck stand up. My next guest has just released her second book, The Liar's Girl. Set here in Dublin, a copycat killer is on the loose, and only Alison can unlock these answers to these crimes. Now, this sounds like one you will not be able to put down. Delighted to have in studio today the author, Catherine Ryan Howard. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks for having me.
I just love how your career has brought you from Disney to hotels to, you know...
Yeah, murder.
Murder at this stage. It's gas, because when you were a kid, you didn't... I mean, I know you asked for a typewriter.
Yes, I did, from Santa. Yeah.
But you had a career goal that was very scientific-based. What was that?
Yeah, so originally, I wanted to be a virologist. So if you've ever seen a movie like Outbreak or Contagion, I wanted to be one of the people in the suits. Nice. Now, what I didn't factor into that is that I'm incredibly squeamish and I've no aptitude for medicine or anything. But that wasn't going to stop me. So yeah, that went away. I can tell you exactly when, the day of the biology leaving cert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No relation.
So then you went off and you did other things, which, like you mentioned, yeah. You worked with Disney, which I'm kind of fascinated
Yeah,
with.
so I went to work in Walt Disney World in Orlando. I was there for a year and a half, more than 10 years ago now. I was a front desk agent. So I always want to specify I was not in a costume. I was not one of the characters. I was in normal clothes. But I did absolutely love it. Like, I wasn't a huge Disney fan or anything before I went, but it really is Cheese Fest, the happiest place on earth. Like, everyone is in such a good mood all the time, most of the time.
Is it true that the characters dressed in costume have to wear a kind of a regulation underpant, that they're not allowed to wear their own? That's what I've heard.
No. I mean, I have lots of fun facts about the characters. Like, one of the things is they have to go to autograph class, because if one Mickey signs the autograph one way... We've heard that before. The child comes back a year later and gets a totally different one. You're like,
no way.
Why has Mickey's writing changed? So, yeah, they have to be very...
You know what? That is not something I expected to find out from a crime writer.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So, from Disney and all that happiness and gaiety and happiest place on earth, you found yourself then, crime fiction became your thing.
Yeah.
How do you make that leap?
Well, to be honest, crime fiction had always been my thing. When I was about 11 or 12, I was always a voracious reader, and a friend of mine, her older brother, she took from him, I think without telling him, a stack of Patricia Cornwell paperbacks, and I was way too young to be reading about autopsies and serial killers, but sure, you know, neither here nor there. So from then on, I was really, really a huge fan of crime fiction, and I always wanted to be a writer, and for a while I did try and write other things, but I knew myself that you should really write the book, I'm sure Caroline, you give me, that you want to read.
Absolutely.
And there's no point trying to write something you don't genuinely love.
So your first book was a huge success. And
well,
it was. Ireland, Europe, the States. Well, it was optioned for TV by a company in...
A company in London. So, you know, it crawls along quite slowly, this process. But it's good to have a sort of ticket in the game.
Is that your way of saying, so that when people stop you and ask you, how's that thing that's been optioned for TV, you're like, lads, it takes forever, stop asking.
The way I explain it is it's like buying a ticket for the lotto. Like, one day I may get the jackpot, but, you know, the chances are probably the same of it actually ending up on screen, but fingers crossed everything will come out of it.
Then the one that was published then in March, which is, because you've another deadline coming up soon. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Let's not talk about the deadline.
You're so calm and relaxed in studio.
I appear to be, but underneath I'm
Go on, let's talk about the deadline. When is it?
Friday week, so yeah, it'll be good.
Have you much left to do?
Yeah.
Just write the book.
Just write the whole... No.
I noticed how your voice got really high pitched. I will do it, but it's my poor Nespresso machine is going to be pulling double duty, I think, for the next week and a half. But I'll get there.
How long does it actually take from the thought process of the characters forming in your head to the end product?
Well, there's two ways to answer that. Like, first of all, there's how long it should take. And my publisher would say about a year, because they want you to produce a book a year. I take a bit longer, so probably, like, I first got the idea for this book, let's say, maybe 3 years ago. Probably started the book that's about to hand in. Probably started seriously writing it maybe 8 months ago, but we're only halfway through the process now, so we'll have edits and stuff to come next.
Okay. You mentioned they're getting the idea for the new book, the deadline for which, we're not trying to rub in the fact that she has a deadline, but the deadline for which is next week. Tell us where you got this idea, because you know, as writers, I imagine you get ideas from everywhere in life. I'd say you're constantly seeing things, making notes, going, God, yeah, actually, that might be a good idea.
Well, I'm one of these writers who doesn't have loads and loads of ideas. I don't know who these people are. Please tell me you don't have like loads and loads of ideas. I'm always looking for one. So I came across, there's an art exhibition is the best way to describe it, but it's called Post Secret.
Yeah.
So if you go to postsecret.com, you'll see there's a website, Instagram, everything. And what it is people write their deepest, darkest secrets on a postcard. You're only allowed to have that space, and they mail it into this guy who puts it online and stuff like that. So I saw an image of a hotel room, and the secret was, I trade hidden sex cam footage with other Airbnb hosts.
Oh. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh. Suddenly Airbnb gets
reaction.
smartening up their activities.
Yeah, so immediately, because I'm a crime writer, I thought, well, what if you were doing that not because you're a terrible person, but because you're being blackmailed or you need the money or something, and you saw a murder? You can't report it because you'd have to own up to your own criminality. So that's where the book that will be out in September, which is called Rewind, is all about.
So let's go to the book.
It's not finished yet, but
let's go to the book you have out currently then, The Liar's Girl. It's been out since March. Give me a bit of a synopsis. I know what it is, but I know the girls, we were telling them earlier, and they were like, oh, goosebumps.
Basically what it is that 10 years ago there was this canal killer who murdered 5 girls in the Grand Canal. Right in the area where I live, because I don't bother with research. I just set everything
Just look out the window.
Just look out the window. That counts, I feel. So he's in prison, and there's a new body found in the canal, and the Gardaí go to him and ask him, does he know anything? And he said, well, I have some information that may help you, but there's only one person I'm willing to tell it to, and that's the girl he was with, who was in love with him at the time he committed the crime. So she's fled Ireland. She's been away for 10 years, and she has to come back quite reluctantly to hear what he has to say. And he says, I'm innocent, actually, and you're the only one who can help me prove it.
Ooh, I came with goosebumps again, and I already read the synopsis.
You have the best reaction, so yeah, thank you.
I really have. I double down on the goosebumps.
When you see her when she goes to see Santa. Oh, dang.
Outrageous, honestly. I feel like Dougal from Father Ted sometimes. Oh, I got my coffee. Oh, God, excitement. What I'm fascinated is that you went back to college.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe what you might call later in life.
Yeah.
And kind of then...
I would stress, I'm not sure about the back, because the first time I only lasted 3 weeks, and one of them was Freshers' Week, so that's only 2 weeks.
It was a long hangover.
Yeah, it was a very long hangover. Yeah. So, yeah, I went when I was 32, just graduated a couple of weeks ago. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so while you did that, you got an agent within the first 6 weeks, you got a book deal in the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And here we are now about to hand in book number 3, again with the deadline.
That's
so
the
mean.
My agent will be so happy that we've talked about my deadline so much.
Oh,
today.
yeah. So, The Liar's Girl by Catherine Ryan Howard, currently available, but she'll be flying out of here, literally to the laptop.
Get back to the laptop.
To the laptop we go. Look, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.
And
Thank you.
The goosebumps have just calmed down now, so we'll take a breath.